David in Tacoma, Washington. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hey, Tom. Thanks for taking my call. And Congressman, thank you. My question is kind of a comment. I like to talk with people of a variety of political stripes. I notice when I talk with Republicans, it's always about what is financially right. I feel like their morals kind of sit on what is profitable, whereas many liberals of my friends and whatnot tend to sit more on a moralistic stance about how things are. But with that in mind, something we came across seems like if the U.S. invested more in Latin American countries to help manufacturing grow there, we might be able to make some argument to say, hey, why don't we help these countries develop and create manufacturing so we can pull some of that manufacturing from overseas, and especially in Asia like China. So I wanted to see what you thought about speaking to our Republican counterparts more on that language, because I feel like we can get more traction that way. And I'll take the answer off the air. Thank you very much.
Thank
you,
David.
So I see what you're saying is how can we talk to the Republicans to try to bring them on board? Unfortunately, I really feel the Republicans, it is so rare for them to break right now from Donald Trump that the Republican Party looks more like a cult these days than a conservative political party, which makes it difficult. No matter what issue, they're afraid within their own primaries of being challenged by Trump supporters that we're not able to have a lot of conversations. Now, having said that, one problem could be is that we're still supposedly telling people we're going to bring jobs back to the USA, and if we're helping bring jobs to a different country rather than the U.S., that could be a difficult conversation. But I do think there still is some logic to if we help curb the violence in the countries where people are fleeing, because they're fleeing not so much because of jobs, but they're fleeing because of the violence, you could stop the folks from those three countries coming here. And that still, I think there's a logic to it. But, you know, these days, logic and the Republicans don't work as well because of this kind of cult of personality that they seem to have around Donald Trump and the way he behaves towards them.
Listening on KPFK, you're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
I'd like to know what you would think about this idea to address climate change and climate refugees. There's a company called Green Wave that's doing kelp farming, and I think we could have kelp farms all along the coast from the Aleutians to the base of South America, and we could set up floating areas with the kelp farms where people could live on them and be kelp farmers.
Yeah, Laura, it's interesting. I'd love to know more about that program. However, I do think that what we're finding is most of the people who are coming right now to the border are fleeing violence in the countries they're coming from. It's not an economic consideration necessarily, but it's a consideration due to, I think in some ways, the Honduran government in Honduras and probably more gang and other related in El Salvador and in Guatemala. So we have a way to really address it, and that's the problem is Donald Trump has said he's going to stop funds going there, which actually works to the opposite goals that we want to. So, having those farms may be helpful for some who maybe aren't finding employment, but most folks are just trying to flee the violence in their countries. We are such a beacon of hope that they're looking at coming here, and with all the rhetoric the president's put out about blocking and stopping people from coming across the border, they're all coming now because they want to do it before it's too late, which is why we have right now some impacted numbers to deal with. And then, of course, we're dealing with it horrendously from the Trump administration perspective. So I think it's important to remember violence is the main driver for people coming here.